Good morning, honorable members. Yeah, let's start our today's business. And so I'll call upon our clerk to proceed.
Order number 1, administration of oath.
Proceed.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4, petitions.
Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Under this one, we have Honorable Stephen Mwanthi, who is the Vice Chairperson Appointments Committee. And so I'll just call upon Honorable Nicholas Nsioka to represent me.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Dominic.
Sorry for interrupting my majority leader. Honorable Speaker, there is some funny echo, and we cannot receive the majority leader's report with such a sound.
I think he's working on it. Okay. Honorable Dominic, I'm told it's being worked on. I believe they'll be using just the same mic, so maybe Honorable Majority just proceed as they listen and adjust their sound.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Assembly today, Tuesday, 18th June 2024. The 6th report of the Committee on Appointments on the vetting of nominee for appointment to the position of the County Executive Committee member for the Department of Water, Irrigation, Climate Change and Environment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Nicholas. Next paper to be laid will be laid by Honorable Joshua Mwanga, Chairperson, Labor and Public Service and ICT Committee.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Assembly today, Tuesday, 18th June 2024. Report of the Labor, Public Service and ICT Committee on the vetting of nominee to the position of Chief Officer, Department of Public Communication. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Joshua Mwanga. Next, we have Honorable Daniel Muinti, Chairperson, Water and Irrigation Committee. You may come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Daniel Muindi, MCA from Amuthesia Ward. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the paper, the following paper on the table of the Assembly today, Tuesday, 18th June 2024. A report of the Water and Irrigation Committee on the vetting of nominee to the position of Chief Officer, Department of Water and Sanitation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Daniel. Next, we have Honorable Brian Kisila, Chairperson, Decentralized Units and County Administration Committee. Honorable Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to lay a paper in this House to adopt the report on the Central Units County Administration on the vetting of nominee as Chief Officer. Nominee as Chief Officer laid on the table of the House Tuesday, 18th June 2024. Sorry, Mr. Speaker. Sorry. I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 18th, 2024. Report of decentralized units and county administration committee on vetting of nominee to the position of chief officer, Department of Inspectorate, Firefighting and Emergency Services. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Brian. Next paper will be laid by Honorable Daniel Ndwiki, Chairperson, Lands and Energy Committee. Honorable Ndwiki, you may come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Daniel Ndwiki, MCA Syokimau Mlolongo Ward. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Assembly today, Tuesday, 18th June 2024. Report on Lands and Energy Committee on consideration of informal settlement KISIP 2 program in MACHAKOS in Mavoko sub-count. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Daniel. Next is Honorable Nicholas Zioka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to lay the following paper on the table of the Assembly. Supplementary 3 budget estimates for financial year 2023-2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Nicholas, and I commit that paper to the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Next. Clerk.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
On this one, I call upon Honorable Nicholas Nzioka to hold a brief on behalf of the Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to give notice of motion that, pursuant to Standing Order 184, this House adopts the 6th report of the Committee on Appointments on the vetting of nominee for appointment to the position of County Executive Committee member for the Department of Water, Irrigation, Climate Change and Environment, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Nicholas. Next is Honorable Joshua Mwanga.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to give notice of motion that this House adopts the report of the Labour, Public Service and ICT Committee on the vetting of nominee for appointment as Chief Officer, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 45 of the County Government Act 2012, Section 4 and 9 of the Public Appointments, County Assemblies Approval Act 2017 and Standing Order 190 Sub Order 5F. This House approves the appointment of Ms. Joyce Wairimo Geturo as Chief Officer, Department of Public Communication. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Joshua Mwanga. Next is Honorable Daniel Muinti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to give the notice of the motion that this House adopts the report of the Water and Irrigation Committee on the vetting of nominee for appointment as a chief officer laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024, and pursuant to the provision of Section 45 of the Government Act 2012, Section 4 and 9 of the Public Appointments, County Assembly's Approval Act 2017, and the Standing Order 19 sub-article 5F. This House approves the appointment of Dr. Julian Ndunge Wambua as the Chief Officer, Department of Water and Sanitation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Daniel. Next is Honorable Brian Kisila.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Brian Kisila, Chairperson, Decentralized Units and County Administration. Honorable Speaker, I wish to give the notice of motion that this House adopt the report of Decentralized Units and County Administration Committee on the vetting of nominee for appointment as Chief Executive laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 45 of County Administration Act 2012, Section 4 and 9 of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, and Standing Order 195F. This House approves the appointment of Mr. Francis Musembi Munyambo as Chief Officer, Department of Inspectorate, Firefighting and Emergency Services. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Brian. Next is Honorable Daniel Ndwiki.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to give notice of motion that pursuant to Standing Order 19 sub-order 5, this House adopts the report on Lands and Energy Committee on consideration of informal settlement KISIP 2 program in the MACHAKOS sub-county laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Daniel Ndwiki. And I think there is a mistake somewhere with whatever Honorable Daniel read. Which position were you derogating? C or what? I think it should be Department of Sewerage and Sanitation, not as indicated there. I think in your last sentence there is an error.
Honorable members, there was a mistake somewhere here, and I wish Mr. Speaker to repeat again.
Kindly do so. And the same and applied on the paper that you laid.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to give notice of the motion that this House adopts the report of the Water and Irrigation Committee on the vetting of nominee for appointment as Chief Officer laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024, and pursuant to the provision of Section 45 of the County Government Act 2012, Section 4 and 9 of the Public Appointment, County Assembly's Approval Act 2017 and the Standing Order 190, Article 5F. This House approves the appointment of Dr. Julian Ndonge Wambua as the Chief Officer, Department of Sewerage and Sanitation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Daniel Muindi. Next order, clerk.
Order number 7, statements.
Under this one, we have Honorable Nicholas Nzioka, Majority Leader, and MCA Machakos Central Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee met today, 18th June 2024, to prioritize business for the House as forwarded by committees and honorable members pursuant to the provisions of the Standing Order number 151, Suborder 6D. The committee balloted business as follows. Tuesday morning, 18th May 2024 at 10 a.m. A. Statement on ownership of land, plot PDP number MKS/56/2018/1 by the Honorable Brian Kisila. B. Report on the Machakos gender policy, that is continuation of debate, by the Honorable Benjamin Kinyungu. C. Report on the vetting of nominee to the position of Chief Officer, Department of Inspectorate, Firefighting and Emergency Services, by the Honorable Brian Kisila. Report on the vetting of nominee to the position of Chief Officer, Department of Public Communication, by the Honorable Joshua Mwanga. E. Report on the vetting of nominee to the position of Chief Officer, Department of Water and Sewerage and Sanitation, by the Honorable Daniel Muindi. F. Report of the Committee on Appointments on the vetting of nominee for appointment to the position of County Executive Committee member for the Department of Water, Irrigation, Climate Change and Environment, by the Honorable Stephen Mwande. Tuesday afternoon, 18th June 2024 at 2:30 p.m. A. Report on consideration of informal settlement, that is KSIP 2, program in Mavoko Sub-County, by the Honorable Daniel Ndweki. And B. Motion on alteration of the Assembly calendar and adjournment of the House on Wednesday, June 2024, and to sit on Thursday, 20th June 2024, by the Honorable Nicholas Nzioka. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Majority Leader. Next statement is by Honorable Brian Kisila.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning, members. Welcome back after a long recess. My statement is ownership of land, plot number PDP number MKS/56/2018-01. Honorable Speaker, aware that Article 61(2) of the Constitution classifies ownership of land as either private, public, or community. Further aware that Section 12A of the County Assembly Services Act 2012 states that the County Assembly Service Board shall have the power to acquire, hold, charge, and dispose of movable and immovable property. Honorable Speaker, acknowledging that National Land Commission via letter reference 310147/120 dated 4th February 2019 and addressed to Machakos County government forwarded an allotment letter of the said parcel of land on the existing site for Machakos County Assembly Machakos Municipality, which is 1.0 hectare, and attached a plan FR number 179/116, whereby the site was marked in red, detailing the site, aware that the letter required county government to confirm acceptance of the allotment letter and attach a clearance amount of Kenya shillings 6,850 via a banker's check. Honorable Speaker, noting that on 10th February 2020, via letter reference NLC stroke Machakos stroke allocation stroke volume 11 stroke 11, the county stroke 71, the county coordinator, National Land Commission, Machakos County, wrote to the clerk, Machakos County Assembly, enclosing a letter of allotment, reference number 310-147-120, aware that the letter required the clerk to prepare an acceptance letter and a banker's check in favor of Principal Secretary, Ministry of Lands and Fiscal Planning, Nairobi, and also to get in touch with the county surveyor to undertake a survey of the plot and to require survey information to support registration of the plot. Honorable Speaker, appreciating that the clerk of the county assembly via letter reference MKS CA stroke ADM stroke LEENR stroke volume 236 dated August 2020 wrote back to the county coordinator, National Lands Commission, Machakos County, on the matter of existing site for Machakos County Assembly PDP number MKS 56 2018/01, and confirm the acceptance of the allotment letter and acceptance to undertake other procedures required by law to acquire title deed, and attached a banker's check of Kenya shillings 6,850 in favor of Principal Secretary, Ministry of Lands, Fiscal Planning, Nairobi. Honorable Speaker, aware that the above procedures were granted and ownership of plot number PDP number MKS/56 2018/01 to Machakos County Assembly under the custody of County Assembly Services Board as provided under Section 12A of the County Assembly Services Act 2017. Aware that this plot of land is the one directly joined to the new administration block of the County Assembly just opposite Machakos Law Court. Honorable Speaker, aware that there is a construction currently taking place in the plot PDP number MKS 56/2018/01, owned by the County Assembly of Machakos as per the allotment letter, and aware that the County Assembly is not aware who is undertaking the construction, nor the person who permitted the construction to take place. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 41, I wish to seek a statement from the County Assembly Service Board, CASIB, on the following issues. 1. Is a property PDP number MKS/56 2018/01 as contained in the allotment letter from the County Coordinator, National Lands Commission, still owned by the County Assembly of Machakos? If yes, who authorized the construction of the new building currently ongoing on the said property without the approval of the County Assembly? 3. What actions is the County Assembly Service Board undertaking to stop the ongoing construction and plans put in place to safeguard the said property against any further intrusion, and what are the timelines? Number 4, are there other property that belong to the County Assembly of Machakos facing similar predicament? And if yes, what plans has CASIB put in place to ensure that this said property is secured back to the County Assembly? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Brian. Honorable members, you've heard the statement from Honorable Brian, and so maybe we can have one or two members ventilating just briefly. Honorable Kavio, one or two members before we proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an unfortunate morning that as an assembly, the people who are supposed to serve as the agents of protecting the people we represent, we are facing a threat of our space being violated into. And because we know sometimes these statements normally take a while before a response comes back, and whoever is doing that construction, last week when I was checking, it was at the foundation stage, and Mr. Speaker, this morning I've seen it's at the roof stage. So if these statements are going to take the normal turnarounds that normally happen in this house, it means by the time we get a feedback, whoever is doing it would have already occupied the house and will incur extra cost of evicting the person. We have a legal department. We have even officers attached to this assembly. So before even we establish who is doing what or who has approved, whoever is undertaking the project, Mr. Speaker, we will request that you direct that whoever is found on that site as at today, they be arrested and taken to the police for questioning so that they can record statements as to why they are encroaching on a county assembly land. Then the statements can come later, because this is not a responsibility. CASIB is the one that has the responsibility, but also as a county assembly, even as CASIB does their thing, we have a responsibility to make sure that stops. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you go on the administration block where honorable members are currently being hosted, you find 3 to 4 members sharing one office. Our members of staff also don't have a secure parking where they can park their cars. Even members, sometimes you find here congested. So that is a space that if is secured, we can have so many activities being undertaken that will serve this county assembly. So, Mr. Speaker, we make this appeal that whatever is happening there be stopped forthwith until we are able to get an alignment on what exactly is happening there, because the assembly is able and it has all the mechanism to make sure that stops. And if the person is not paying attention to our directive, then our legal team should proceed and secure a court order and ensure it is complied with, because we cannot be losing land, yet we are the same house that is supposed to protect members of public. So we should start by protecting ourselves from encroachment, so that we can demonstrate that we can also protect the members of public that are looking up to us. But if ourselves are under siege, then there is a problem as a house. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Kavio. Honorable Dominic, then we proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to be very brief. Honorable Speaker, the issue that has just been raised by Honorable Kavio is very pertinent. The statement being sought by Honorable Kisila is quite devastating and very disappointing that an assembly who is supposed to protect the rights of our electorate is now crying. And honorable members, if you recall very well, some time back, we even put the former clerk to task that when he said he wanted to do an underground parking, we directed him to ensure that is secured. It is unfortunate that, Honorable Speaker, the speed at which that building is coming up, it is suggestive and indicative. Somebody somewhere is playing with the minds of this assembly. Because if I wish all county projects would be undertaken in such a speed that that building is coming up. And if that could be happening, I think this county government would be one of the best to emulate and come and benchmark in terms of projects, Honorable Speaker. There is no way a building of such magnitude can be done within a week. As I've watched today from the House Business Committee window, Honorable Speaker, by end of business today, that building will be roofed with iron sheets. What is the urgency of the matter? What is the speed of the matter? What is the motive of the matter? Honorable Speaker, we need to move with extreme speed. We secure that land. If orthodox mechanisms ought to be applied by these honorable members of this county assembly, then we may proceed to do that, because, Mr. Speaker, if that building is finalized to occupation, then we might be forced to do a lot to acquire back that property, Mr. Speaker. And the documentation is there. So we don't even need to struggle so much. Right now, the legal department of this assembly, through the County Assembly Service Board, ought to move with speed. And actually, Madam Speaker, there is some disconnect somewhere. By the time this building started, letters ought to have emanated from the County Assembly Service Board stopping whoever is doing the construction. It is an illegal construction taking place, and it ought to stand to stop as immediate as possible. Honorable Speaker, by the time we leave this assembly in the evening, if possible, that construction site ought to be closed and all activities going place there confirmed to be illegal until otherwise directly. So, Mr. Speaker, may you, as the honorable member has said, make immediate intervention so that whatever is happening right now, that can stop, unless it is confirmed in writing by this county assembly that the County Assembly Service Board is aware of who is doing that construction site. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Dominic. Honorable, do you want to say something? Then briefly, so that we may now move to the next business.
Very brief, Mr. Speaker. You know, matters of land. Although I don't know where they said a piece of land is, but I want to say this. As we pursue the legal way, there is the other way of my way. So I am proposing this after the first session. Let's meet there.
Which is your way?
The other, you'll see it when we go there. Because we might leave them and pursue the legal way until it is too late. So let's go and chase him after this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, honorable members. Honorable Ndawa, I think we need to go to the next business. Otherwise, we may not be able to accomplish our today's business. And so that matter that has been brought by Honorable Brian is a weighty matter that needs to be addressed urgently, because if the land belongs to the assembly, there are several questions one may ask him or herself, that how did they get the approvals to construct the house there, even before doing other things? Did they acquire approvals as they were constructing? Because when you are approving, you must produce either an allotment letter or a title deed. So what they use maybe to go there. And so I'll commit this statement to the Committee on Lands and Energy to report on or before, Honorable Chair, on or before. I think if we give you 7 days are enough to report back to this House on Wednesday next week. Yeah, 7 days. The committee will have met with the CASIB and maybe the department and report back on that same issue. They cannot report back tomorrow. Of course, they cannot call CASIB today. So I think Honorable Momonga have already made a ruling that let it be next week Wednesday. The committee will report back to this House on their findings. So next order. Next order.
Order number 8, motion, approval of report on the Machakos County gender policy.
On this one, I'll call upon Honorable Benjamin Kinyungu, Chairperson, Social Welfare and Sports Committee. I believe this is a continuation of our debate, so just Honorable Vice, you can just give highlights, just some highlights so that we may accomplish with the business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Boniface Chalo Katiti, member of Modedeni Ward. This report came to the Assembly, so now I'm just giving some highlights of it so that as Assembly we can approve and pass it. So I'll start with the introduction. Honorable Speaker, in 2010, Kenya promulgated the new constitution, and this marked a major milestone in the way the country is governed. To Kenyans, especially the marginalized, this seemed like a new beginning because the new constitution was inclusive of all groups, be it in governance, employment, or representation. But it is one thing for the constitution to declare in Article 27, Sub-Article 3, that women and men have the right to equal treatment, including the right to equal opportunities in a political, economic, cultural, and social spheres, and another for this to be realized. It further provides that to give full effect to the realization of the rights guaranteed and under this article, the state shall take legislative and other measures, including affirmative programs and policies designed to redress any disadvantage suffered by individuals or groups because of past discrimination. Article 27, Sub-Article 4 of the Constitution says that discrimination is prohibited on the basis of sex, race, pregnancy, marital status, health status, ethnic or social origin, color, age, disability, religion, conscience, belief, culture, dress, language, or birth. Thus, women and men have the right to equal treatment, including the right to equal opportunities in political, economic, cultural, and social spheres. Machakos County has therefore developed a policy on gender which supports the Constitution provisions and reflects the changing operating environment. The policy takes cognizance of the emerging issues and provides a roadmap for gender mainstreaming and wide latitude for engagement with the people of Machakos County. This is in line with Article 10, Sub-Article 2, A, B, and C of the Constitution of Kenya, which exposes democracy and participation of the people in inclusiveness, good governance, integrity, transparency, and accountability as a core national value and principles of governance. The policy articulates the importance and objectives of gender mainstreaming for the country's social protection and enhanced service delivery, enabling equal access to opportunities, resources, services, protection, decision-making, and other basic rights to all Machakos County citizens remain the priority. Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya underscores the sovereignty of the people of Kenya, whose rights and freedoms must be upheld. Under Chapter 4 of the Bill of Rights, the Constitution provides that every person has the right to life, human dignity, security, equality, and freedom from discrimination, slavery, forced labor, and substitute, ensuring equity and equality is the target of this policy. Mr. Speaker, I'll go now to the legal framework so that where the policy has been, where the committee has been guided from. Honorable Speaker, in considering the Machakos County gender policy,
The committee was guided by the following laws and statutes. 1. The Constitution of Kenya 2010. 2. National Policy of Gender and Development 2019. 3. Prevention of Domestic Act 2014. Marriage and Matrimonial Act 2014. Land and Succession Act 2016. Sexual Offences Act 206. 7. The Children's Act 2001 and revised at 2012. 8. National Policy for Prevention and Responses to GBV 2014. 9. Elimination of all harmful practice, prohibition of Female Genital Mutilation Act 2011, and Adolescents and Reproductive Health Policy. Then 10. Leadership and Decision Making, 2000 Gender Principle, Article 81, Subarticle B. Not more than 2/3 of the members of elective public bodies shall be of the same gender. Then we go to now the Machakos County Gender Policy. We have the overview of the policy.
Honorable member, I think members, I think this report had been read. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just needed to highlight. Just read the recommendations.
I go to recommendation, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
These were the recommendations of the committee. Honorable Speaker, the committee recommends as follows. 1. The county government of Machakos to undertake gender budgeting initiatives from the point of county integrated development plan, that's CNDP, annual development plan, that's NDP, county fiscal strategy paper, and the final budget estimates, as these will contribute to gender mainstreaming by focusing on the gender dimensions of the county government budgets. Under Chapter 4 of the policy, the department should therefore ensure that the policy captures budgeting initiatives. Number 2, under Chapter 4 of the policy, the department should incorporate...
Honorable Kavyu?
Yes.
Is it a point of order?
I'm standing on point order number 27, 4. Based on the list of items that have been read, I'm not sure whether within the next 30 minutes of the plenary session we'll be able to exhaust the NINI. So I was raising on a point of order that you allow extension of time until we conclude the business of the day.
You have a seconder?
The majority leader can second to move that motion so that we have an extension of time.
Just read the motion, so you can proceed now.
Okay. Honorable Speaker, that aware that standing order number 27.2 provides that the Speaker shall interrupt business at 12:30 p.m. for the morning sitting. Aware that the standing order number 27.3 provides that the House may resolve to extend its sitting time. Aware that standing order number 27.4 requires a motion to extend sitting time to be moved at least 30 minutes before the time appointed of adjournment. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the motion that the House resolves to extend its sitting time until the business is concluded. I call the majority leader to second.
Thank you, Honorable Kavyu. Thank you, Honorable Majority Leader. I now propose the question that this House resolves to extend its sitting time until the business of the day is concluded. And so I invite members to debate.
Before we put the question, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Ndao.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Our standing order says at least 30 minutes. So it is fast. It is not yet third time, but I'm not opposing. So I'm advising in the future, let's stick to what is said by the standing orders. So put the question.
Okay. Next time, Honorable Kavyu, you'll check on that. And so I call the mover to reply. Honorable Kavyu, you can reply. I think it's your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know it's not yet 12, but I thought it's also wise that I anticipated that there will be the time that is there will not be enough. So it's on that basis that I moved the motion, because our intra is full, and it's good that we clear all the businesses because of their magnitude. And thank you, members, for supporting.
Thank you, Honorable Kavyu. I now put the question that this House resolves to extend its sitting time until the business of the day is concluded. As many as have that opinion say aye. As many as have the contrary opinion say nay. And the ayes have it. Thank you, Honorable Katiti. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was on our recommendation number 2. Under Chapter 4 of the policy, the department should incorporate in the policy distinctive strategies upon which the local media houses will act as conduits of sensitization on gender issues. The media can play a transformative role in achieving gender equality in society. This is by creating gender-sensitive and gender-transformative content and breaking gender stereotypes by challenging traditional social and cultural norms and attitudes regarding gender perceptions, both in content and in the media houses, and showing women in leadership roles and as experts of diverse topics on daily basis. Number 3, the department should ensure that the policy strictly maintains its vision from the citation up to the body, which is mainstreaming gender equality in county policies and legislation, in providing services, implementing programs and projects that cherish and uphold the equal value of men and women. The department should ensure that the policy maintains the main objective, which is gender mainstreaming, and should ensure that there is no bias in the policy and address both genders equally and equitably. That the House adopts this report on the Social Welfare and Sports Committee and approves the Machakos County Gender Policy, which aims to promote gender equality and women's empowerment as reflected in the ratification of numerous international conventions and instruments on elimination of discrimination against women, in line with Agenda 2030 and Goal number 5 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The current government has laid down the following strategies in mainstreaming gender. Lastly, the Department of Gender and Social Welfare fast tracks incorporation of all the recommendations made by the committee and further fast tracks the implementation of the Machakos County Gender Policy. Mr. Speaker, now we go to conclusion. The Machakos County Gender Policy has been developed with comprehensive insights into the empowerment, rights and access to justice, leadership and accountable governance, gender roles and power differentials, relations and economic opportunities available for men and women, girls and boys in Machakos County. It will also enable equal access to opportunities, resources, services, protection, decision-making, and other basic rights to all Machakos County citizens. Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 underscores the sovereignty of the people of Kenya, whose rights and freedoms must be upheld. Under Chapter 4 of the Bill of Rights, the Constitution provides that every person has the right to life, human dignity, security, equality, and freedom from discrimination, slavery, forced labor, and servitude. On behalf of the Social Welfare and Sports Committee, It's my privilege and honor to present to this House the report of the Committee on its consideration of Machakos County Gender Policy. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Katiti. I now invite members to debate the motion. Honorable Joshua Monga.
Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, I want to congratulate the committee and say, since this is a report which went through a committee, and that committee has members, who are equal to the task, I think we should approve the report as it is. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Monga. Honorable Kavio.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the report on the gender policy because if the House grants this report, approves this report, it's going to pave way for regulations that will make it possible to have it operationalized, bearing in mind that with the current status, without this policy, we are unable, even as a committee on delegated, to proceed with the regulations on Wekwatio, people with disability fund, and even the fund on women. So, and based on the recommendation that was given by the Senate, is that a policy is supposed to precede the regulations. And if this House approves this today, it will create a way for that regulation can be developed, and that will ensure that our people who are have been disadvantaged for the longest time are able to get funds that will empower them to venture into businesses, and even others will be able to pursue other ventures that will give them an opportunity and also bridge the equity gap that every day is widened. So it's a good report, and as a member of that committee, I support and request members to support the same. We approve. And I want to support what Honorable Monga suggested. We have gone through the report because it was here before, and we requested for time to go through it. And now that was granted, and during the recess we were going through the same report, I request that we don't dwell much on it. If members allow, you just put the question so that we can move to the next agenda.
Thank you, Honorable Kavio. Honorable Katitu may come forward and reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to applaud the people that came with the policy, because it has taken too long, and it is a good policy that will help our people in our account to be taken care of, every gender to be taken care of. So many conventions have been held since 1997 all the way to Millennium Goals and treating same issues, all the way to 2017 about the sustainable goals, and then now to the Vision 2020 that still articulating same issues. So what I want to say, I'm so thankful for the member Kavio for the support, and the other people, and Honorable Mwanga and all the other members for the support that you have accorded this report and the committee as a whole. And to say this, affirmative actions have been always done neglecting the boy child. And now we cannot, as a country and as a count, we cannot only be considering the women and boys at the expense of neglecting the men and boys. So because gender inequality is detrimental to everyone in the society. So thank you, members, and I pray that we may support the report.
Thank you, Honorable Katiti. I now put the question that this Assembly adopts the report of the Social Welfare and Sports Committee on Machakos County Gender Policy as laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 8th May 2024. As many as are of that opinion say aye. As many as are of the contrary opinion say nay. And the ayes have it. Clerk, next order.
Order number 9, motion, approval of report on vetting of nominee to the position of Chief Officer, Department of Inspectorate, Firefighting and Emergency Services.
On this one, I call Honorable Brian Kisila, Chairperson, Decentralized Units and County Administration Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am sure the members have read the report. And I need. All right. They were read and understood, but before that, Mr. Speaker, I need to move the motion that this House adopts the report of Decentralized Units and County Administration Committee on the vetting of nominee for appointment of Chief Officer laid on the table of the House on Tuesday 18th June 2024 and pursuant to the provisions of Section 45 of County Governments Act 2012, Section 409 of Public Appointments into bracket County Assemblies Approval Act 2017 and Standing Order 195F. This House approves the appointment of Mr. Francis Musembi Munyambu as the Chief Officer, Department of Inspectorate, Firefighting and Emergency Services. I'm calling upon Honorable D to support.
Thank you, Honorable Brian. Thank you, Honorable D. I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Decentralized Units and County Administration Committee on the vetting of nominee for appointment as Chief Officer laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 45 of County Governments Act 2012, Sections 4 and 9 of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, at the Standing Order number 190, Suborder 5F, this House approves the appointment of Mr. Francis Musembi Munyambu as Chief Officer, Department of Inspectorate, Firefighting and Emergency Services. And before I proceed, let me call the mover to take the House through the highlights of the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be very brief, Mr. Speaker. With your permission, I'll read the forward, and I will not read all of it, and then I'll go to the recommendations. Mr. Speaker.
Permission granted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Speaker, the nominee appeared before the committee as scheduled on Monday, 10th June 2024 for approval or hearing in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution and Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval 2017 and County Assembly of Machakos Standing Order on the suitability or otherwise for the appointments for the positions of Chief Officer. Pursuant to Section 7, 8, and 9, Section 8 of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval, the committee observed that the nominee met the requirements of Chapter 6 of the Constitution, demonstrated knowledge and experience on the portfolio in which he had been nominated to, had requisite academic qualifications, training and professional experience, and scored above the pass mark of 60% set by the committee to be recommended for the appointment as Chief Officer, Department of Inspectorate Firefighting and Emergency Services in accordance to Section 45(1) of County Government Act 2012. Mr. Speaker, having conducted the approval hearing for the nominee pursuant to Section 45 of the County Government Act 2012, Section 4 and 9 of Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, and Standing Order number 195F, the committee recommends that the House approves the nomination of Mr. Francis Musembi Munyambo for the appointment of Chief Officer for Department of Inspectorate Firefighting and Emergency Services by Her Excellency, the Governor of Machakos, Governor Wavinya Deti. Mr. Speaker, the committee is grateful to the offices of Speaker and that of the Clerk of the County Assembly for the support accorded during the execution of the task. I also wish to express my appreciation to the honorable members of the committee who sacrificed their time to participate in this exercise. Further, the committee acknowledges the support given by the Secretariat in completion of this report. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Decentralized Units County Administration Committee and pursuant to Section 14(3)(b) of the County Government Act 2012, Section 9(1) of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, Standing Order 179(6), it is now my duty and privilege to present to the House the report of Decentralized Units County Administration Committee on approval hearing of nominee for the appointment to the position of Chief Officer, Department of Inspectorate Firefighting and Emergency Services. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Brian. I now invite members to debate the motion. Honorable Ndi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the report of my Department of Decentralized. One time I worked under the nominee in the police service, and he's a true man of God, and is equal to the task. He has served in the same capacity at Nairobi County, where he performed optimally. I think it will be, for the interest of time, I propose that we approve the nominee, kazi iendelee. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ndi. Honorable Lloyd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to support the motion to approve the Chief Officer. We listened to him. We checked his document that is brought to us in the committee. He really qualifies for the job. He has quite an experience on the element in the police force. I would like to insist that the human elements, because what we need in that department is much of the discipline, not to have these inspectorate officers dealing with the people of Machakos like animals, because they have been treating people like animals when it's come to revenue collection and inspecting businesses. You are dealing with the people and you need to collect the money from them. So the chief officer that we were vetting has quite an experience both in working and learning in the human resource. We pray that he puts more efforts on that, combined with his police force work. He insisted on one thing when we were interrogating him: training to the inspectorate officers. We pray that we'll be able to support him in terms of budget and this house so that they are able to train those officers and we are able to collect revenue while our people are inspired, not being dealt the way we've seen before. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Thank you, Honorable Lloyd. I now call Honorable Brian to come forward and reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very grateful to my colleague members of the committee for the very good contributions. Mr. Speaker, this department needs a person with a high degree of professionalism, and the committee found Mr. Francis Munyambo to be the right candidate, and we look forward to supporting him as a committee, including supporting him with budgets, so that in fact he can professionalize the inspectorate. Number two, also to support the Department of Finance on revenue collection, because he assured us that he's going to work hand in hand with the Department of Finance so that we can collect the targeted 4 billion shillings in the Department of Finance. So, Mr. Speaker, we have the right candidate and we look forward to working with him. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Brian. I now put the question that this House adopts the report of the Decentralized Units and County Administration Committee on the vetting of nominee for appointment as Chief Officer, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 45 of County Governments Act 2012, Section 4 and 9 of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approvals Act 2017, and Standing Order number 190, Suborder 5F, this House approves the appointment of Mr. Francis Musembi Munyambo as Chief Officer, Department of Inspectorate, Firefighting and Emergency Services. As many as have that opinion say aye. As many as have the contrary opinion say nay. And the ayes have it. Next, clerk.
Order number 10, motion, approval of report on vetting of nominee to the position of Chief Officer, Department of Public Communication.
Thank you. Under this one, I'll call upon Honorable Joshua Mwonga, Chairperson, Labour, Public Service and ICT Committee.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to move the motion that this House adopts the report of Labour, Public Service and ICT Committee on the vetting of a nominee for appointment as Chief Officer laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024, and pursuant to provisions of Section 45 of the County Government Act 2012, Section 4 and 9 of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, and the Standing Order 190 Suborder 5F, this House approves the appointment of Ms. Joyce Wairimu Gituro as Chief Officer, Department of Public Communication. Mr. Speaker, I call upon Honorable Rosina to second the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Joshua Mwonga. Thank you, Honorable Rosina. I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Labour, Public Services and ICT Committee on the vetting of nominee for appointment as Chief Officer laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 45 of County Governments Act 2012 and Sections 4 and 9 of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, and Standing Order 190 Suborder 5F, this House approves the appointment of Ms. Joyce Wairimu Gituro as Chief Officer, Department of Public Communication. And before I invite members for debate, let me call the mover to take the House through the highlights of the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would wish to go straight to recommendations of the committee, since this report was circulated in our official wall, and the members are, I'm sure they have gone through it, since they know why they are in this assembly as honorable members. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I want to go straight to the recommendations. That is page 17, Mr. Speaker.
You may proceed.
Having conducted the approval hearings for the nominee to the office of the Chief Officer, Public Communication pursuant to Section 45 of the County Government Act 2012, Section 4 and 9 of the Public Appointments, that is County Assembly's Approval Act 2017 and the Standing Order of the County Assembly of Machakos, the committee recommends that this House approves the nominee of Joyce Wairimu Geturo, nominee Chief Officer, Public Communication. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Joshua Monga. And so I call upon members to now can debate the report, the motion. Honorable Kavio.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion, and Mr. Speaker, I'll also make an appeal that you allow Honorable Monga sometimes before the end of the House to tell us the secret behind the cap, because since he started wearing it, he has greatly improved. He's no longer even wearing glasses. He used to struggle to read documents, but since he started wearing, everything is flowing, so he might need to tell us the secret. But on the nominee, I think having interacted with her on different forums, and even on our experience in the communication industry, I think the candidate will fit the bill, and she's going to deliver on the role that she has been appointed for, and therefore I support the approval for the nominee to the position of Communications Chief Officer. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Kavio. Honorable Rosina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Rosina Kanini, Special Elect, Wiper Party. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, having vetted the nominee, I'm so sure a sexy next that she fits in the docket, and herself, owing to her first experience in media houses, I'm very sure she is going to assist the department in achieving Governor Wavina's manifesto. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Rosina. Honorable Ann.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Anastasia Mutevu, special elect by the Wiper Democratic Movement. I rise to support the report on labor as a member of the Labor Committee, because I sat in that vetting of that chief officer, and in fact, she represented herself as very competent. I believe in her that she'll serve diligently on the media, because as our CVs elaborated to us, that lady, she is well experienced on media fraternity. So I request this House to support the nominee and also the committee report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Anastasia. Honorable Daniel Ndwiki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Daniel Ndwiki. I rise to support this report, Mr. Speaker, because I'm not a member of that committee, but it happened that I was a fan and a listener operative citizen sometimes back there, where the nominee used to present morning programs, and as I heard her, she's very much elaborating our representation of a message to the people So I wish she will carry that experience to present messages from the county in that manner. And I wish I see it being the right candidate and qualified for the job. So I support a report, and I support her in that capacity that I had her on a review, and she presented very well. So I support the report, and I support the report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Daniel. May I now invite the mover to reply.
Mr. Speaker, with your permission, allow me to reply to the issue raised by...
Permission granted, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The issue raised by Honorable Member for Kinania Ward about the red cap I'm wearing. Mr. Speaker, it is true, it is you who ruled that I was properly dressed in the first day when I was in the cape. Mr. Speaker, this cape gives one freedom of thought and independence of mind. That is why you are saying I'm changing. Thank you. Mr. Speaker.
That's a good response.
The business on the floor.
Seems the member had noted that improvement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank all members of my committee and all those who have contributed on this report. And I want to say this was the sixth nominee to appear before the Labour Committee. And I want to say she is the best nominee and somebody qualified to the same job. Mr. Speaker, actually the nominee answered questions as if she had been leaked to the questionnaire, which was not the case. Mr. Speaker, one question was, how, if she was in that position, how she would have handled the issue of stripping a member of the County Assembly by the Inspectorate Askaris. And she said, one thing that she would have done as a CEO to that department was to own up, not to deny, but to own up so that she can run away with the innocent, but not to leave it to the criticizers of the government. With that, I want to thank my committee members for approving this nominee, and I also want to thank the Assembly for doing the same. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Joshua. I now put the question that this House adopts the report of the Labour, Public Service and ICT Committee on the vetting of nominee for appointment as Chief Officer laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 45 of Count Government Acts 2012, Section 4(9) of the Public Appointments County Assembly's Approval Act 2017, the Standing Order number 190, Suborder 5F. This House approves the appointment of Ms. Joyce Wairimu Geturo as the Chief Officer, Department of Public Communication. As many as are of that opinion say ayes. As many as are of the contrary opinion say nay. And the ayes have it. Clerk, proceed.
Order number 11, motion, approval of report on vetting of nominee to the position of Chief Officer, Department of Sewerage and Sanitation.
Yeah, on this one, I call upon Honorable Daniel Muindi, Chairperson, Water and Irrigation Committee, to come forward.
Mr. Speaker, my name is Brian Kisila, Honorable Brian Kisila. I'm a member of the Water Committee. I stand in for my chairman. Honorable Speaker, I wish to move the motion that this House adopts the report of the Water and Irrigation Committee on the vetting of nominee for appointment as Chief Officer laid on the table of the House Tuesday, 18 June 2024 and pursuant to provisions of Section 45 of County Government Act 2012, Section 4 and 9 of Public Appointments, County Assembly's Approval 2017, and Standing Order number 190 FC. This House approves the appointments of Dr. Julian Ndunge Wambua as Chief Officer, Department of Sewerage and Sanitation. I call upon Honorable Rosina to second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Brian. Honorable Rosina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rosina Kanini, Special Elect Waiver Party, and a member of Water and Sanitation Committee, and I do second.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Rosina. I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Water and Irrigation Committee on the vetting of nominee for appointment as Chief Officer laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 45 of County Governments Act 2012, Sections 4 and 9 of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, and starting under 190 Suborder 5F, this House approves the appointment of Dr. Julian Ndunge Wambua as Chief Officer, Department of Sewerage and Sanitation. And before I invite members for debate, let me call the mover to take the House through the highlights of the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Brian Kisila, member of the Water Committee, standing in for my chairman. And Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I'll just go straight to committee recommendations.
I think, Honorable Brian, you can first go through the forward, then the recommendation.
Okay, Mr. Speaker. All right, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the nominee appeared before the committee as scheduled on Monday, 10th June 2024 at 11 a.m. at the County Assembly Boardroom 2B for approval of hearing in accordance with the provisions of Constitution of Kenya 2010, Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, and the County of Machakos Standing Orders, pursuant to Section 7, 8, and 9, and Section 8 of Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act. And the committee observed that the nominee met the requirements of Chapter 6 of the Constitution and demonstrated knowledge and understanding of the portfolio to which she had been nominated to. She also had a very high level of academic qualifications, training, and professional experience. Mr. Speaker, she scored 76.72%, which is above the pass mark of 60% set by the committee to be approved to the appointment as Chief Officer, Department of Water and Sanitation, Department of Sewerage and Sanitation, in accordance to Article 179(2) of the Constitution 2010 and Section 31C of the County County Government Act 2012. Mr. Speaker, having conducted the approval hearing for the nominee pursuant to the above articles, the committee recommends that the House approves the appointment of Dr. Julius Ndunge Wambua to the position of Chief Officer, Department of Sewerage and Sanitation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It's Julian, not Julius.
Julian, yes, Mr. Sorry, Julian Ndunge. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Brian. And now I invite members to debate the motion. Honorable Kaloi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand to support the motion. Matters, sanitation, sewer,
especially in our municipalities, is very crucial. So bringing on board this chief officer, I'm sure many issues are going to be addressed. So I stand to support, and I'm a member of the committee, and the nominee was had experience in matters sanitation and sewage. So I stand to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kaloi. Honorable Dominic Maida.
Honorable Speaker, without subjecting these honorable members to a lot of debate and whatnot, a report read by a committee brought before this House that did not have any lobbying to object it is a full satisfaction that the committee was satisfied with the credentials and everything in that report. So, Honorable Speaker, without much ado, you may proceed and do the necessary. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I now invite the mover to come forward and reply.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much to the members for the contribution. Matters sanitation are critical, and in the committee we note with a lot of concern that the budget allocation for sanitation is still very low. We are urging this House to support sanitation with appropriate budgets so that we can do the necessary in the department. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm very grateful to the committee for the work they have done, to our chairman and the rest of the members for the wonderful job we have done. It was within a very short span of time, but we did the work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Brian. I now put the question that this House adopts the report of the Water and Irrigation Committee on the vetting of nominee for appointment as Chief Officer laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Sections 45 of County Governments Act 2012, Sections 4 and 9 of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, and Standing Order Number 190, Suborder 5F, this House approves the appointment of Dr. Julian Dunge Wambua as Chief Officer Department of Sewerage and Sanitation. As many as are of that opinion say ayes. As many as are of the contrary opinion say nay. And the ayes have it. Next, clerk.
Order number 12, motion, approval of report on vetting of nominee to the position of CECM, Department of Water, Irrigation, Climate Change and Environment.
Thank you. On this one, I'll call upon Honorable Nicholas Nzioka, Majority Leader, to move the motion on my behalf. Put on the mic.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to move the motion that, pursuant to Standing Order Number 184, this House adopts the sixth report of the Committee on Appointments on the vetting of nominee for appointment to the position of the County Executive Committee member for the Department of Water, Irrigation, Climate Change and Environment, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024. I call upon the Minority Leader to second.
Thank you, Honorable Nicholas, Majority Leader, and Honorable Judas Mbili, the Minority Leader. I now propose the question that, pursuant to Standing Order 184, this House adopts the sixth report of the Committee on Appointments on the vetting of nominee for appointment to the position of County Executive Committee member for the Department of Water, Irrigation, Climate Change and Environment, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024. And before I invite members to debate, let me call the mover to take the House through the highlights of the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I just wish to go straight to the committee's recommendation because we didn't have much. With your permission.
You may proceed.
Thank you. This is the recommendation of the Appointments Committee for the appointment of Chief.
CC. Honorable Majority Leader, before you read the recommendations, I think it's prudent. Maybe you start with the forward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Article 179, Sub-Article 2B of the Constitution, as read together with Section 30, Subsection 2D of the County Governments Acts, Number 17 of 2012, Her Excellency the Governor of Machakos County forwarded to the Speaker of the County Assembly a letter reference GMC/2/OG/Volume 1/001, dated 27 May 2024, nominating Ms. Elizabeth Katile Mutua for appointment to the position of County Executive Committee Member, Department of Water, Irrigation, Climate Change, and Environment. Pursuant to Standing Order 39, Sub-Order 1, and Standing Order 42, Sub-Order 2, the Speaker of the County Assembly read the message from Her Excellency the Governor, Machakos County, on Wednesday, 29 May 2024, communicating the name of the nominee. Further, pursuant to Section 7(1) of the Public Appointments, that is County Assembly Approval Act of 2017, and Standing Order Number 39, Sub-Order 3C, and 184, Sub-Order 4, the name of the nominee was committed to the Committee of Appointments for approval, hearing, and reporting to the House within 21 days. Consequently, and in accordance with Article 196, Sub-Article 1 of the Constitution, Section 7, Subsection 5, and Subsection 10 of the Public Appointments, that is County Assembly Approval Act 2017, and Standing Order Number 42, Sub-Order 5 and 6, the Clerk of the Assembly, through an advert placed in the Daily Nation newspaper dated Friday, 31st May 2024, notified members of the public that the Committee on Appointments would conduct approval hearing on Monday, 10th June 2024 at 11 a.m. at the Assembly chambers. The advert invited members of the Assembly to attend the approval hearing and or submit any information or comments on suitability or otherwise for the appointment of the nominee. The submission were to be made by way of sworn affidavits and hand-delivered to the office of the Clerk of the Assembly on before 6 June 2024. By close of submission deadline, the committee had not received any memoranda concerning the suitability of the committee. The committee convened as scheduled at the County Assembly chambers for the approval hearing in accordance with the Constitution, County Governments Act, Public Appointments, that is County Assembly Approval Act Number 5 of 2017, and the County Assembly of Machakos Standing Orders. The chairperson of the committee directed the Sergeant at Arms to look for the nominee and escort her to the Assembly chambers for the approval hearing. The Sergeant at Arms reported back that the nominee was not within the precincts of the Assembly. The committee observed that A, the nominee had not collected vetting forms despite the adverse placed on the Daily Nation newspaper dated Friday 31st May 2024, requiring the nominee to collect and submit vetting forms as prescribed under Section 7, Subsection 9, and the first schedule of the Public Appointments that is County Assembly Act Number 5 of 2017 by 10 a.m. on Thursday, 6 June 2024. B, the office of the Clerk of the County Assembly had not received any formal notification on the nominee's withdrawal from the approval process as provided under Section 7, Subsection 12 of the Public Accounts County Assembly Approval Act Number 5 of 2017, which provides that a candidate may, at any time, by notice in writing addressed to the clerk, withdraw from the approval process and the candidate's nomination shall thereupon lapse. C, the office of the clerk of the county assembly made efforts to contact the nominee by way of phone calls and SMS. When the nominee eventually answered the call of the clerk, she stated that she had declined that nomination. D, an approval of hearing cannot proceed without the presence of the nominee. E, a report should be compiled for reporting to the House. The approval hearing having not taken place as provided under Section 179, subsection 2B of the Constitution, Section 35 of the County Assembly Act, and Section 7, 8, and 9 of the Public Appointment, that is County Assembly Approval Act, number 5 of 2017, due to unavailability of the nominee and oral reporting that she had declined the nomination, the committee recommends that this House reports to the appointing authority that the candidate's nomination had lapsed pursuant to Section 7, subsection 12 of Public Appointments County Assembly Approval Act of 2017. The committee, I think I should go to the recommendation, Mr. Speaker. So that it goes on the record, this is the recommendation of the committee. The approval hearing having not taken place as provided under Article 179, Sub-Article 2B of the Constitution, Section 35 of the County Government Acts, and Section 7, 8, and 9 of Public Appointments, that is County Assembly Approval Act of 2017, due to unavailability of the nominee and oral reporting that she had declined the nomination, the committee recommends that this House reports to the appointing authority that the candidate's nomination had lapsed pursuant to Section 7, subsection 12 of Public Appointments, County Assembly Approval Act 2017. Therefore, on behalf of the Committee on Appointments and pursuant to Section 14(3)(b) of the County Government Acts, Section 9(1) of the Public Appointments, County Assembly Appointment Act 2017, and Standing Order 179(6), it is now my duty and privilege to present to the House the 6th report of the Committee on Appointments on approval hearing of the committee to the position of a County Executive Committee member for Department of Water, Irrigation, Climate Change, and Environment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Nicholas Nzioka. I now invite members to debate the motion. Honorable Dominic.
Honorable Speaker, in matters of litigation, when the complainant withdraws the case, then outrightly the case is dismissed. So, Honorable Speaker, there is no matter of discussion in this matter because the complainant already withdrew the case, so the case may not proceed any further. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Dominic. May I now call the mover, invite the mover to reply? You want to say something, Honorable Ndawa?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, my name is Judas Ndawa, the member representing the great people of Matu. Honorable Speaker, I want to support the report and commend our chair. You are the chair, together with the Speaker and other members, for the report. Honorable Speaker, as I support, I just want to disagree with my brother here, Honorable Dominic, that the complainant withdrew the matter. Honorable Speaker, the key actor in this matter was our the governor, because she's the one who brought that name. So the only person whom we can term as the complainant is the governor, but the governor did not do that. Honorable Speaker, the process lapsed because of two technicalities. Technicality number one, the appointee or the nominee was given timeline to collect forms, fill, and return to the office of the clerk, and there was that time given. She never honored that. Again, Honorable Speaker, because the process had to go to the
the last step. And the last step is the appointed day for the hearing. Honorable Speaker, we did not, as member committee, did not want to take any shortcut. The committee sat as it was agreed upon, as it was in the newspaper. We waited because we had given time for that nominee to appear before the committee. The nominee did not show up. The sergeant terms, as the majority leader has read, was sent by the committee so that we can be sure. In fact, we were trying to seal any loophole. That nobody can go to court and say it was not earned. The sergeant arms was sent to check whether the nominee was within the precincts of the assembly. And the report that came is that the nominee was nowhere to be seen. So the nominee lost that chance because of those two technicalities. So since it was a business which was given by the assembly, we had to compile a report and bring it before this house and say that was the position, and maybe request Her Excellency the Governor to forward another name because that one was not available. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Dawa. Honorable Nicholas Nzioka, you may come forward and reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to thank the members of the committee who, despite the nominee not showing up, thought that the only logical way is to follow the law and present a report to this honorable house, because that is the work that we were given when it was first communicated. I just want to thank the members and the house for receiving, and I hope they are going to approve our report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Nicholas Nzioka, the majority leader. I now put the question that, pursuant to Standing Order 184, this House adopts the 6th report of the Committee on Appointments on the vetting of nominee for appointment to the position of County Executive Committee member for the Department of Water, Irrigation, Climate Change and Environment, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 18th June 2024. As many as have that opinion say aye. As many as have the contrary opinion say nay. And the ayes have it. The House adjourns to Tuesday, 18th June 2024 at 2:30 p.m.